Have you ever looked at a product and thought, hey, I could sell this overseas? But then that little voice of doubt kicks in and says, but am I even qualified? Well, if that sounds familiar, you are in exactly the right place. Today, we're going to break down all those barriers, the ones in your head and the ones you think are real, that stop people from getting into the export business. Let's do this.
So this is it, right? This is the million-dollar question. It's the one that stops so many amazing entrepreneurs dead in their tracks before they even take the first step. It feels like a final judgment. But you know what? It's really just the beginning of the conversation. Let's look at the fears that usually come right after this question pops into your head. Ringing any bells? Oh, I'm just a small fish in a big pond. I don't actually make my own products. I didn't go to business school. I don't know anyone overseas. These are the exact thoughts that make people count themselves out of the game. But here's the thing. What if all these doubts are built on complete myths, not on reality? Okay, this is so important, you really gotta let this sink in. Legally speaking, exporting is a right that's available to you as a citizen. It's not some special privilege or a favor handed out to an exclusive club of big shots. That idea alone changes everything. The question isn't, am I allowed to do this? The real question is, okay, so how do I do it? So keeping that fundamental right in mind, let's just go ahead and systematically tear down the 4 biggest myths that hold people back. We're going to put what people think they know right up against what the law actually says. First up is the myth of scale. This idea that you need a huge corporate headquarters, hundreds of employees, and a massive budget just to even think about shipping something abroad. It's a really intimidating picture for sure, but that's all it is, a picture, not a requirement. And here is the reality check. The myth tells you, sorry, this is for big corporations only. But the legal truth? Size is a total non-issue. The law just doesn't care if you're a multinational giant or a small shop owner working out of your garage. That door is wide open for absolutely everyone. And just look at how wide that door really is. We're not just talking in theory here. An individual person, a sole proprietorship, a partnership, small and medium businesses, the very engine of our economy, you are all legally empowered to export. The system is literally designed for you to get in on the action. All right, let's hit the next myth. This is another massive mental roadblock. This idea that to sell something overseas, you have to be the one who physically built it in your own factory. But once again, the legal reality is so much more flexible and, frankly, more interesting. Look, owning a factory is great. It's definitely helpful, but it is absolutely not a requirement. The law actually creates a clear path for people who don't manufacture anything at all to become wildly successful exporters. So how's that possible? It's possible because the law recognizes 2 totally different ways to play the game. You can be a manufacturer-exporter where you make your own stuff and sell it globally. Or, and this is the game changer, you can be a merchant exporter. That just means you find awesome products made by other people, you buy them, and then you export them to international markets. It's 100% legal, incredibly common, and a really powerful way to do business. Let's talk about the next one, because this one can feel really personal for a lot of folks. It's the belief that you need a fancy business degree or some kind of formal education to handle the so-called complexities of global trade. Well, this one is pretty simple and really empowering. There are exactly 0 educational requirements to become an exporter. This business doesn't care about your diploma, it cares about your practical skills, your ability to learn the rules, manage the paperwork correctly, and just be disciplined in how you operate. And finally, we get to the big one, the myth that stops almost everyone else in their tracks. Money. The belief that you need a gigantic pile of cash just to get your foot in the door of exporting. This is where we've been thinking about this whole business completely backward. Exporting is not primarily an investment-based business, it's a knowledge and process-based business. Especially if you're a merchant exporter, you can get started with a surprisingly low amount of capital. Your single greatest asset isn't what's in your bank account, it's what's between your ears. Okay, so we've officially busted the big myths. You don't have to be a giant company, you don't need to own a factory, you don't need a degree, and you don't need to be rich. So what in the world do you actually need? Well, there is one single thing that is an absolute, non-negotiable legal requirement. This is it, the whole shebang, the Import-Export Code, or IEC for short. This little code is the one true key that unlocks the door to global trade for you and your business. So why is this code such a big deal? Well, think of it as your business's official passport to the world. It's what gets you registered with customs so your goods can actually leave the country.
It's what allows your bank to process international payments for you. To put it simply, the IEC is the fundamental license that says, yep, this person is officially authorized to export.
So now with the myths totally out of the way and the one true requirement crystal clear, your journey can actually begin. So let's talk about what really, truly leads to success in this business. Take a good look at this number, 0. That is the number of legal limits related to your age. It's the number of legal barriers that have to do with your education. All those limits you might have built up in your head, they simply do not exist in the official rulebook. This quote just says it all, doesn't it? Exporting is not some exclusive game reserved for big people. The single biggest mistake you can make isn't about not having enough resources. It's that little voice inside that tells you, this isn't for me. That is the real barrier you have to break through. So if you really want to succeed, this is what you focus on. First, getting the right knowledge so you understand the rules and your market. Second, creating the right process so you handle all the details with care and discipline. And third, having the right patience, because this is a marathon, not a sprint. At the end of the day, the question was never, are you qualified? The real question is, are you willing to learn?